What if I told you that you could have all your AI tools work together effortlessly? Sounds unbelievable, right? Well, with LangChain, that dream can become a reality. In today's video, we will explore everything you need to know about LangChain. From key features to installation, from essential components to core components, plus we will share real-world case studies to showcase applications of LangChain. Let's get started. Hello all, welcome to this session where we'll be learning regarding Python LangChain. Let's quickly hop onto the agenda and check out what all do we cover in the session. First, we will talk about introduction to LangChain, and then we will try to understand what is the basic environment setup we need in order to work with applications using LangChain on Python, and obviously with the integration of OpenAI. Then we talk about core concepts we have to understand, followed by the components of LangChain. At last, we will have a LangChain case study where we'll be understanding more about how does this work in practicality. Why wait? Let's quickly start with this session. Here we are in the first topic, introduction to LangChain. First, let's understand what is LangChain. LangChain is a framework or the library which has been designed to streamline the development and deployment of applications that utilize language models. So this is the exact definition of LangChain. Why we always call it as library? Generally, we used to do one kind of operation, that is installing the libraries. We use pip command, right? We also use pip command to install LangChain in the Python environment. That's why we consider that in a normal way of talking, it is also a library, right? So there is no doubt it's a library, but also they mention it is a framework. It provides a set of tools and components to make the language model work in an efficient and stable, scalable manner. It is just like a playground where you build certain models by using different kinds of LLMs and particularly LangChain library or framework. What are the key features of LangChain? What is it included of? LLM wrappers. When you say large language model wrappers or nothing but we are having a small models which is working as a prototype in the LangChain library by itself. You can try to use that ready-made one or you can create new wrappers. Then you have prompts and prompt templates. Prompts are the basic building tool which a user will use in order to communicate with the GPT or LLM model. It is a English-like statement. It is just a requirement. You are putting it into a system. So and so I need. This is how you work with ChatGPT, right? You give the prompts, what is your requirement in detail, in depth, how you need. Then you will get the output accordingly. So we are communicating. Prompt acts as a language between the GPT and the user. As simple as that. Prompt templates. Yes, LangChain also has templates. It will give suggestions. Just like you could see suggestions in GPT nowadays. What you are trying to ask the GPT or any other coding platform if you go, it will try to prompt the next code or next word which you want to type. Generally, it happens in Visual Studio if you have observed. So, it is having a template already or it will auto-generate if required. So, that's how it works. Next, you have chains. What is this chain? Let's not go to LangChain aspect. Let's talk about a normal chain. Chain is nothing but interlinked elements, right? You will link the elements like this, one to another. When you link, then it is a chain. Likewise, here, when you work a complete project in a module wise, you want to link those modules in order to make a complete whole project. So, chains will always act as linking those modules together and making it a whole part. So, that's the use of chain. Next, embedding and vector stores. Obviously, embedding, if you want to embed any other content from outside the world of LangChain, Python or OpenAI, you can use this embedding. Vector stores, you have the content which is already present in the internal storage of LangChain. So, we also mentioned this to be a vector store. right? We just address it that way. These are the key features of LangChain. Hope you had an overview and understanding about the key features. Now, let's understand why do we need LangChain. We need LangChain in order to overcome certain challenges. Okay, what are those challenges? While you work with LLM, that is language models, integration issues might come up, difficulties in scalability. It is serving for 20 people, now you want it for 50 people, or it multiplies into 200, 300, so on and so forth. So, by providing modular or user-friendly framework, always LangChain gives you an open window where you can explain or demonstrate your ideas, your requirements. You can make a model and do the job. Next, it particularly specifies it is having applications all over the domains. Majorly, it will always try to reduce the work of the human. That's how it will give advanced processing capabilities with customer support, intelligent automation, for content recommendation system, whatever the models which you build for your requirement, it will try to give a advanced level support and processing capabilities if you use LangChain. Now, what are the use cases? What are the applications? Where do we use LangChain? It's used in every other domain. You can name it, you have it. But I have listed very few of them. First comes customer support. When you talk about customer support, what happens here? I'll give a simple example for you. If you use a chatbot which is built with the help of LangChain framework, it makes the customer support very smooth without human intervention. Even though if the chatbot is not able to solve the issues, then you can intervene the human. 5 minutes of the time is saved, human resources saved, it helps in time saving as well. Next, you have content generation. If you are a person who is a blogger, who works with content writer, right? You want some ideas. How do you have to elaborate the content? How do you have to create a blog? You can just give a prompt that I need a blog on Python. It will give you a blog. You can just use that as your inspiration and you can try to modify them and put up into your requirement. Then comes intelligent automation. Again, automation, ChatGPT. It's not only that, you have many other robots also. If you want to build something, a basic robot, you can use this framework in order to create that thinking ability by using language models which is available in LangChain. So, intelligent automation helps there. Semantic search. If you are a person who is working towards a domain of SEO, search engines, you want the ability to be proficient in your domain, you can use LangChain in order to have a semantic search. Also, you can use this for data as well. A person who is purely working with data, content, creative wise or technical wise, you can use LangChain. Then comes personalized recommendation. You want something towards for yourself. You want to create your own automated mail intimator, which is having the ability to give you this task which you have for the day or any prompting you want in your system. You can create a personalized recommendation model with the help of LangChain. These are the use cases or applications of LangChain. Now, let's understand what is the software or environment requirements for LangChain. Is it huge requirement or it is a simple requirement? Let's understand them. Now, we have Python in your system, right? So, the basic version of Python is all you need, nothing else, where you can import the LangChain library and you can work across. So, it is supporting 3.7 and later versions of Python interface. Next, what are the libraries or dependencies you have for LangChain? It is very common. You have PyTorch, TensorFlow, Transformers, NumPy, Pandas for data manipulation and analysis, and Flask or Fast API. So, for deploying the web services applications, you have TensorFlow for training and interface, and you also have Transformers for pre-trained language models. So, these are the libraries with or the dependencies you have for. It's not that everything will be working, every library will be used. It's a broad structure of library where you can use. Development environment. So, where you will develop this in which interface it is all about the Google, Colab or Jupyter Notebook. So these are the preferred IDE for development. It is not restricted only for this. You can also have various IDEs in order to work with LangChain. Whichever IDE supports Python will always support LangChain as well, because they both are integrated. Now let's move on to development environment setup. Let's understand what all we need. Already we had a word, but let's see in detail what is the command we use, how do we work across. First thing, prerequisites, as I told you, Python IDE and 3.5 or later versions. What is the installer we use? It is always PIP, Python Package Installer. We use pip command. Generally we talk it in that language. So install LangChain. How do you install? Just open your command prompt and run the command called pip install language. Before that, ensure that you are in the directory where the Python has been installed. After that, pip install LangChain will work. Then, verify installation. Very simple. Go to Python IDE and type import LangChain. Once you do that, you will get no prompt, nothing, no commands, or it will be a plain input. Then, it will be a plain output. That means it has been installed properly. If you want to check if it is installed, then it will print this next statement. You can give it for verification. If you don't want to see the plain output, you can give a print command. LangChain is successfully installed. It will print the same. If it is not installed, it will not go to the next line. When it does not go to the next line, it is ensured that it is not installed properly. These are the verification types you can try in order to know whether it is installed properly or not. Now, let's quickly check this in a command prompt and understand how this installation happens. As I told you, first I am navigating towards the Python location which is installed in our local system. Then I'll try pip install LangChain. I'll type this and click on enter. Once I click on enter, it will try to analyze. Yes, requirement already satisfied. That means I have already installed this particular LangChain. That is why it is not giving me any loading kind of output. It is telling everywhere that it has been installed. Not only LangChain, any packages related to that is also installed. And it also suggests there is version 24.1.2. Would you like to upgrade? You can use this command and upgrade. For now, it is 21.2.3. Then it goes back to the Python location. Now, if you want to check, I suggest you click on Python. It will go to Python interface, that is 3.10, which I am using. As I mentioned, it is anything after 3.7, this particular library will support. What was my verification method which I mentioned? Import LangChain. When you tell this, it will go to next line, right? So, if you want to confirm whether the LangChain has been imported properly, you just have to do this as mentioned. Import LangChain. When you click on enter, you can also type a print statement. Print LangChain is successfully installed. If this executes, obviously, when it has come to the second line, that is print statement, it is already installed. If the import LangChain is not working, it would have shown a error by now. So, this is how you verify LangChain is installed properly or not. So, we had an installation method. If it is already installed, it will go to this kind of output. And to verify, you can do this. You can enter the Python prompt and then you can give the commands. Hope this is clear. We had a successful demonstration and how it looks while you install or you try to verify with the help of import command on the command prompt, which is both Python IDE as well as the normal command prompt. We use both of them in order to verify. We use Python. In order to install, we use normal command prompt. So, that's about the development environment setup. Now, here we are on LangChain core concepts topic. First, we understand LangChain is built around the concept of modularity because we use this library in order to work in modules and then make it a bigger project. It will always allow users to easily work with the language models by creating, managing chain and agents which can maintain certain state using memory. So, what happens here? A core concept for this includes chains, agents and memory. let's understand what are these chains, what are these agents, and what are these memories. First, we will try to understand what is chain here. Chains are sequences of operations or components that process inputs and generates outputs, often using language models. So, we try to have a sequential operation or the components which is inside the language model of LangChain. We try to generate the output one by one. What are the types of chains you can find? It's very easy. Simple is just like a simple statement, and sequential is you have to go one after the other only. You have that particular rule. When it comes to conditional, if case will comes in picture. If this particular condition is being executed, then only you can go further or go to the next chain or next agent. So, this is how you can have a conditional chain. You can put a condition for your chain. You can make a chain to mandatorily sequentially execute, or you can keep a simple chain which integrates all your small modules. This is about the chains. Now, let's understand what are agents. Agents are entities that can make decisions based on the inputs, interacts with chain, and utilize memory for maintaining state. We want somebody in order to communicate between the linked modules, right? Chain will always act as a link between the modules. Who will communicate from A module to B? You have to have an agent. You want to have a salesman who will come from A location to B location or A module to B module. So, agent is simple as that. It will try to establish the communication between the chains, between the small modules which you have connected with the help of chains. Types of agents. You have reactive agents, proactive agents, and interactive agents. So, reactive is just that you tell something, it will give a reaction. For an action, there is a reaction. That's how these agents work. Proactive agents. Oh, it will always have a eye on what's happening, where it is, which module communicated with whom, the log history. Proactive agents is always used for the log history, session history. Like when did they log in, when did they log out, what happened, so what is the session time. So, they are proactively behind the user who is using that particular project or the content, whatever it is. So, reactive agents is only when you provoke them to react. That is where they will react. Proactive is without any provoking. The actions you do with the system is all noted. That's how proactive agents will work. Next, we have interactive agents, just like a ChatGPT, right? You interact with the system with the help of prompts or any other medium or coding, anything as such. So, these are the types of agents you have. Now, let's talk about the memory. Memory in LangChain allows agents to maintain state across the interactions. It's not that you interact and you keep quiet, right? You have to have the state on, off, for example. That is also a state. Yes, no is also a state. Enabling more contextual awareness and coherent responses is always possible with the help of memory. Short-term memory, long-term memory. The name suggests is just like RAM and ROM. So, short-term is only for that particular session, particular thread. After that cuts, it is done. Long-term memory, it gets listed towards the side of your project. So, it will have the log of it. When did this happen? What happened? So, all the details is stored in the long-term memory, and you want to reuse that to multiple aspects as a requirement, you can do it. But short-term memory is just like you use it there, you finish the work, you close it, you are done. You cannot go back there to find what has happened, right? This is one of the important core concepts which we use with chains and agents. This is all about LangChain's core concepts. Now, let's know more about LangChain components. LangChain components involve few of the major aspects. The first one is prompts. We all are familiar with what are prompts nowadays because of ChatGPT, right? So, prompts are essential for guiding behavior of the language models. In a layman perspective, it is an interaction between the GPT or the language model or the bot and the user. We use prompt as a language in order to communicate that. They define the instructions or questions presented to the model. So GPT will ask certain questions to that, it will give an answer for us. It is having variety of options in order to load your file, upload that, and involve a statement in the prompt stating analyze the updated Excel or any other file and give me so and so output. So it is having the ability to analyze as well. So we are evolving with language models L dot and very quicker. Designing prompts. We need to have certain clarity, context and specificity. It is very important. You cannot put the machine into confusion with all the kind of instructions you give or the prompts you give. You have to have a clarity first, what you want, what is your requirement. Then give the context. This is the situation, I want a requirement like so and so. Specificity, I want exactly ABCD, I don't want EFGH. So you have to give certain prompt which is having all the three aspects. One is clarity, one is context, another one is specificity. So this gives you a complete prompt, and also it is important for you to make the machine understand. That's our basic job. So we have created, that doesn't mean it has to work by itself. We have to train in order to work properly. Best practices, keep prompts very simple. Avoid complex instructions, giving which is not able to process by the human itself. If you try to give, it confuses the model. The more you interact properly with the model, the more it gets trained. That is how it will work. So test and iterate. You try to continuously test the prompts, refine them based on the output you receive. Try to give training to the model. Use templates. If you already have templates, in order to have a proper consistency and reusability, if you are having a prompt ready and it is used by multiple other people, it's easy if you have a template. If your work is based on monotonous, you can just use a template for the prompting as well. So prompts will help the LangChain or any language model to train well. Next, you have models. LangChain supports various models, each suited for different tasks. What are the types of models we have? GPT comes first, right? It is a old GPT, now it has been evolved a lot. It is having 16K Turbo, GPT 3.5. You have many kinds of models that's available. Hugging Face models, example BERT GPT-2. Again, it has been evolved, it's just an example. You have custom models, integrated models for other libraries or custom build models, which are integrated in your website or anything for personal use. So these are the examples of models, and LangChain will always support different types of models. It's not only restricted towards, no, I'll only support GPT, I'll only support the BERT. It is having open forum in order to support the languages and the models. Now, let's understand the third component, that is tools. LangChain offers various tools to enhance the functionalities of language models. What are the kinds of tools we have? We have text processing tools, data augmentation tools, evaluation tools. So, in text processing, you can find tokenization, stemming and lemmatization tools. In data augmentation, you can use tools to generate synthetic data for learning. And also evaluation, it is very important. Metrics and evaluation tools to access the model performance, to get the output, how it is working, the result, the analytics, you call it. So, you have to have evaluation tools as well. It's not that you generate and keep it aside and start using it. What is the progress? How to improvise that? In order to know the drawbacks, in order to know the faults, you have to evaluate in a different way. It's just like when you do the software development, you always do the software testing, right? So, there are types of testing. Likewise, evaluation is a metrics. So, LangChain also support evaluation metrics in order to improvise your model performance. Next, you have data loaders. So, the fourth one, data loaders facilitates the loading and processing of data for language models. I gave a simple example right in this video that we will try to upload some file to ChatGPT. We'll ask the ChatGPT to analyze the updated Excel file or any other file which you give. It will try to analyze and it will give you the output, and what you want to do with that you have to tell the GPT. So, file loading is very important. For that, data loaders is a tool which we use, and you have two types of loaders. CSV loader, load data from CSV files, or JSON loader, load data from JSON files. In LangChain I'm talking about. In particularly, we have components called data loaders where it supports these two kinds of files. So, we are clear about the components of LangChain. Hope we are clear with LangChain components. Again, we have data loaders, we have tools, we have models, and we have prompts. So, these are the major components you have to understand. Now, what is next? We have LangChain case study. Here, we will be talking about a simple case study where you are trying to generate your own story with the help of OpenAI, Python LangChain library or framework, and with the help of the API key which you generate. I'll explain you regarding the codes we use, the installation we have to make, and how do we do that, everything in the Google Colab, and we will also execute that in command prompts. Why Google Colab? It's very easy to teach on Google Colab. We'll use command prompt, and how do we install all the required libraries, and how do we save the files, where do we get the files from, how we have to save the structure, everything is explained. So let's quickly hop on to the Google Colab and understand. Now here we are on the Google Colab. What we are trying to understand, what is the case study? First thing, personalized story generator. That means it will try to take certain inputs from the user and try to generate the story for the user. This project will take inputs, might be the character names, settings, and theme of the story. It will generate unique story every time you try to communicate with ChatGPT 3.5. Why I am stuck with 3.5? There is 4 and 4.0 that's coming, right? But when you go to OpenAPI, it's still at the 3.5 version itself. It is having 16K, 1105. There is some other codes that's going on. It's just a turbo GPT 3.5. There are many kinds of models. But for now, it is 3.5 in OpenAPI platform. Not talking about the ChatGPT 4 or 4.0. Okay? Don't get confused with that. Steps in order to create this project, very simple. Set up the environment, collect the user inputs, generate story using AI model, and display the generated story. Simple as that. First, when we talk about the installing of libraries, here we have to install OpenAI LangChain. It is related to OpenAI, also related to Python. So, pip install OpenAI and LangChain. Both of these libraries we have to install. Then, in order to collect the input from the user, you have to have two different Python files here. So, that is the differentiation. Previous demonstration, we had only one Python file, one front-end file. We used to work with the code. Here, you have two files. What does this do? First one says user input.py. That means we are trying to welcome the user and take the input from the user. Here you could see welcome to the personalized story generator. You have entered the main character's name. Please enter that. Then enter the setting of the story and enter the theme of the story. For example, adventure, mystery, horror, anything as such. Return the character, setting, theme to the particular file called storygenerator.py. You are taking input with the help of one Python file and you are trying to give that particular collected input to another Python file, that is storygenerator.py. From LangChain, import chain prompt text model, then user input. As I told you, user input file, you have to take all the user input, get user inputs. What is collected? Character name, settings, and theme. This is collected. You have to take this as an input and import that into this particular story generator Python file. This is the function where you can just create certain story according to the inputs given by the particular user. Then you will have a prompt. You will have to work with a text model. As I told you, this is GPT 3.5 Turbo here, and here comes your OpenAPI key. You have to put your secret key here, and then you have to execute this particular main block. It will try to give you the story generated here in the print statement. Generated story is so and so. A paragraph of a story will be displayed for you. So this is how the main block will get executed, and these are the commands or the codes which we use. Every code is having a self-explanatory comment that you can read and understand once again if you don't follow it here. Okay, this particular learning material or code is always provided. No worries, you can go back, rework on this again. Then what do you do? In order to display the story, you have to execute the file. How do you execute? Story generator.py. Here, why are we not using Python? We have to use Python, right? It should be Python story generator.py. That's how it will execute. Simple as that. You will have a quick recap here. First is environment setup, that is you are having Python in your system. You have two libraries, that is OpenAI and LangChain. Then you have to have your own API key, which is discrete. You have to create main script, that is story generator, and you also have to create a subscript, that is user inputs. Then you have to generate the story functionality, that is OpenAI's ChatGPT. You have to use that and you have to give them the character, name, setting, theme, etc. It will develop the story, and if you execute, it will give back the story which is already developed. As simple as that. Hope this is very clear for you. Now let's see the demonstration. What is the output and how it will work? We are trying to execute personalized story generator, which we have already discussed that we are using the library called LangChain. Here it is. You have two different Python files. One is story generator, one is user input. It is already explained. User input is used to take the input from the user, and story generator is the main app. You should not execute Python user underscore input.py. You have to execute story underscore generator.py. That's how you will get the output screen. This is kind of special execution that every output is seen on the command prompt itself. We need not navigate between any other locations for output. What is this PyCache? If you click on this folder, after you compile your code, this is actually generated. Compiled Python file will be generated. So that is why it is here. Now, let's quickly hop on to our command prompt and try to execute this particular code file. In order to do that, first what we need is we have to copy this location where it is actually situated, the folder of your app. Now, we are on the command prompt. We are changing the directory and pasting the location which we copied and clicking on enter. We are in the folder called personalized story generator. What we have to do, we'll try to execute Python story underscore generator dot py. Once you click on enter, this is how it starts executing. Welcome to the personalized story generator, and I'll type a name of the main character as Alice, and it will ask setting of the story where it has to happen. I can say enchanted forest. I'll give the location, visualization idea for the GPT. I'll click on enter. It should be a mystery one or adventure one or horror one, whatever you can mention that. I'll mention as adventure story. I'll click on enter. See, the story is generated in this form. You can read the story pausing the screen, but yeah, it will include the main character, the setting of the story, also what kind of story, what is the theme of the story. It will try to give you the complete paragraph which you can use it for your requirement. This is how a story generator will work. Using LangChain, you can create much more applications. This is of one basic example. Hope this is clear for you. Here we are at the last part of this session, summary. Let's quickly recap what all did we understand in this session. First, we started with the introduction of LangChain, and we provided the overview of LangChain capabilities, its applications, why we use this model, workflows, etc. We understood the development environment and outlined the steps, and also saw the demonstration. How do we actually install the LangChain and how do we verify also? Then we had a knowledge about core concepts and core components. These are the fundamental principal structures or individual modules which will link the elements in LangChain, and you have to know about them. At last, we saw a case study on generating a story, personalized story generator, how did we execute the same on the command prompt, and how did we get the output, and all these aspects were demonstrated in the case study. Hope this particular session was very informative. We'll meet in the next one. Thank you. Happy learning.